Okay, this is like one of my DPS builds, so damage builds. You want pretty much all cores and attributes on it, red ones, which will be like weapon damage, usually weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage, and mods also, like mask, backpack, and vest have mod slots where you can put more crit chance or crit damage. When I go here to stats, and here I can check how many is a crit chance for every type of a gun I'm using. When I press and hold G, it switches stats for the another gun, so now it's Police M4, now it's for pistol, 36.6, and for specialization weapon. That's how I check the crit chance, by pressing holding G. You want the crit chance to be always above 50% at least. 60% is maximum. So if you're like close to max crit chance, your shots critting more often and you get the crit damage, so that the damage is much higher. So at first, like, you want to be pretty high on crit chance and then invest everything into crit damage. The most common DPS build will look like this. I just changed few parts because you're just starting, so you might not have good parts for it. So it's usually like 3-piece Providence, so this icon, which gives you headshot damage, crit chance, and crit damage. It's like 3 bonuses for having 3 parts on. So I have like a backpack, vest, and a holster. Every part is like pretty much weapon damage, crit damage, weapon handling. I would prefer here to have like crit chance or headshot damage. Here the same, like instead of explosive resistance, I would go for headshot damage or crit chance. 1-piece Grupo Sombra, which gives you 15% crit damage as a 1-part bonus. This is like a named item called Contractor Gloves. It's from Petrov brand. Doesn't matter, it's like LMG damage here, even I'm not using LMG. We're using this part, the named part, because of this attribute. It's like golden attribute, damage to armor, which is like unique damage attribute on this named item. So it's pretty much because of this attribute. And Fox's Prayers, it's named knee pads from Overlord. It gives you 10% rifle damage, so it's pretty good for you, like when you use, especially when you use a rifle as well. But even if you're not using a rifle, it's also like, in case of gloves, it's because of this attribute, damage to out of cover. It's like a different type of damage than normal weapon damage, so it's all together gives you a lot of damage. Talents that you might run with this build is usually either Perfect Glass Cannon, which is a named version of Providence Vest called the Sacrifice, but it's very hard to run it. Like, you deal a lot of damage, but the damage you take is amplified by 60%. It's like doubled than the damage you deal. And talent for Backpack, Vigilance, increases total weapon damage by 25%, taking damage disabled buff. But that's why you run it with a shield. You can take cover as well. There are also some substitutes for the talent. Instead of running Vigilance, you could run, for example, something called Companion. So when you have when you are within 5 meters of an ally or skill, total weapon damage is increased by 15%. So just run a drone with yourself, for example, and drone is like always over you, so you will always have 15% more weapon damage. Doesn't matter if you get hit or whatever. The substitute for Glass Cannon, I would say the best is to go for Spotter. It's like slightly weaker than Glass Cannon, but it doesn't matter if you get hit. Like, you just get extra weapon damage to pulse enemies. So we can either pulse them by using Pulse, which will be this skill, this one, the Pulse, or the meta to run it is also to run Technician Specialization, but you need first to unlock it, and you first need to build it up so you can run with it. Technician Specialization has some sort of attachment that you can put on some of your guns, which is called linked laser pointer, and every time you aim at enemy it pulls them. So spotter works pretty great with this attachment, and it needs to be run with this specialization. That's my spotter build as well. Like, it's like a different combination. Like in the previous build you had like 3-piece let me redo it. So the previous build you had like 3-piece Providence, Grupo Sombra, Contractor Gloves from Petrov, and Overlord from Focus Praise from Overlord. The different build could have been, instead of running like Contractor, you can put in I'm running here like Dodge, it's exotic holster called Dodge City Gunslinger holster. The way how it works is if you're shooting with those two guns, one of those, and you don't use pistol for some time, the holster charges the damage for this pistol. So whenever the pistol is charged and I make a headshot on enemy, it just makes super amazing damage. So that's like a good way to run it, but you need first to get this holster. Another variation of the build would have been to run, for example, 2-piece Walker and Harris. It gives you weapon damage and damage to armor. 2-piece Providence for crit chance, pretty much, and headshot damage. Overlord. This part, like those snippets, are pretty much like parts you might want to run in every DPS builds because of this stat on here. Damage to armor on Contractor Gloves is like, it's a little bit less universal. Like it needs, like, not all enemies in the game have armor actually, and damage to out of cover applies to everything pretty much. That's why it's like this is like a must in most of DPS builds. And you pretty much look for the brands that gives you crit damage, crit chance, headshot damage to build it up together. Another variation, like a spotter build. I just like, I could run it a little bit different, also like with a 3-piece Providence or something. I just made something different because I had really good parts. So I'm running like 2-piece Walker, which in my case are mask and holster. It doesn't need to be like a mask and holster. Depends on your parts pretty much. So it could be like, if you had really good rolls, it could be like mask and gloves, and then you run Grupo, for example, somewhere else. So 2-piece Hawkers and Harris for the weapon damage and damage to armor. Everything like you see, weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage. 1-piece Fenris, which gives you 10% assault rifle damage. 1-piece Overlords, stealth fox sprayers, 10% rifle damage. Contractors for damage to armor. Grupo Sombra for critical hit damage. And same again, like instead of weapon handling, I would prefer to have it like crit chance here or headshot damage. Weapon handling is just for like better stability, so like you have better control of your gun, but it's not really like that much necessary. Again, like vigilance on the backpack for more damage, spotter for the vest. And as I'm using like both rifle and assault rifle, that's like addition of 1 part Fenris and 1 part Overlord is good to boost the damage for both guns as well. For the shield, it's like this one, Crusader shield. It lets you use the rifle, assault rifle, shotgun, pistol. I think it only doesn't let you use snipers and LMGs over the shield.